What if everything you thought you knew about ancient Egypt was wrong? What if there were secrets buried in the sand that could rewrite human history, expose ancient technology more advanced than our own, and reveal truths that scholars are too afraid to admit? We all know the pyramids, the pharaohs, Cleopatra, mummies wrapped in linen and tombs filled with gold. But that's just the surface. Beneath the sand, behind the hieroglyphs and deep in the ruins, there's another story. One filled with forgotten gods, unexplained engineering, secret chambers, and clues that might point to a civilization older than Egypt itself. Today, we're going way beyond what school ever taught you. We're uncovering the hidden history of ancient Egypt that most people never hear about. Here's the thing. Egypt is mysterious by design. Thousands of years ago, its people left behind monuments that defy logic. Carvings so precise we'd struggle to recreate them today. Structures aligned with the stars down to the millimeter, artifacts that don't belong to any known period, and myths that sound eerily like real events. But instead of asking how, most just say, yeah, it's old. The real challenge? Figuring out what's been lost, what's been hidden, and what's been deliberately ignored. Because once we start digging into these ancient secrets, we start finding cracks in the entire story of civilization. Let's start with the biggest elephant in the desert, the pyramids of Giza. We're told these massive stone structures were tombs for pharaohs. But here's the twist. No mummy has ever been found inside a pyramid like this. Ever. Not in the Great Pyramid, not in Khafre's, not in Menkaura's. They were empty. Even the so-called sarcophagus inside the Great Pyramid, it's just a carved stone box. No inscriptions, no body, nothing. So if they weren't tombs, what were they really? Some researchers believe they were giant energy machines, not in a sci-fi way but in a very real physics-based way. The materials used, limestone, granite, and basalt, are all electromagnetically reactive. The Great Pyramid sits on top of a powerful natural aquifer with water running underneath. Could the Egyptians have used natural energy, water, stone, sound, and the Earth's own vibration, to generate power? Ancient texts talk about a house of energy in the god's place of ascension. Was that just poetic, or was it real? Here's the thing, the Great Pyramid has 2.3 million blocks, each weighing between 2 and 70 tons, and they're fitted together so precisely you can't even slide a credit card between them. Modern engineers struggle to explain how this was done without cranes, machines, or lasers. So what are the theories? Ramps? The most common idea, but to haul stones that big up a ramp that steep, it would have to be longer than a city, and we've never found evidence of one. Pulley systems? Possible, but where are the tools? Alien tech? Wild, but some people go there. Lost ancient tech? More likely. Some now believe the Egyptians had access to advanced techniques we've simply lost. There are carvings, like the famous light bulb image in the Dendera temple, that suggest they understood electricity. Others show what look like machines or tools that we don't recognize. So here's the real question. Did they know more than we give them credit for? Or are we the ones who've forgotten how to build like this? The Great Sphinx, half lion, half man, giant, eerie, and still confusing historians to this day. It's usually dated to around 2500 BCE, but there's a problem. There's clear evidence of water erosion on the Sphinx, deep vertical channels that suggest it sat in heavy, sustained rainfall. But here's the kicker. Egypt hasn't seen rainfall like that for over 7,000 years. That means the Sphinx could be much older than the pyramids, possibly over 10,000 years old. And if that's true, then the entire timeline of Egyptian civilization shifts. It opens the door to a lost pre-dynastic civilization, one that may have come before the pharaohs and knew something we don't. Who carved it? Why? And why does it point directly at the rising sun on the spring equinox? These aren't just cool coincidences, they're clues, ancient ones. Here's where things get crazy. A growing number of historians, geologists, and even Egyptologists believe Egypt was not the first great civilization, but rather the inheritor of knowledge from one that came before. A civilization that was wiped out, possibly by a global cataclysm like the flood myths that show up in almost every ancient culture. Think Atlantis, not the fantasy island with mermaids, but a real advanced society that vanished in a global disaster around 11,000 years ago. Right around the same time, the Younger Dryas impact theory says Earth was hit by fragments of a comet, triggering massive floods and climate change. Could survivors from this lost world have fled to places like Egypt and taught their knowledge to early people? The Egyptians themselves said their gods, like Thoth and Osiris, came from a distant land after a great flood. They didn't say they invented the pyramids, they said they were taught. So maybe they weren't the first, just the ones who remembered. Most pharaohs are buried in gold masks and look like gods. Then there's Akhenaten. He looked strange. Elongated skull, thin limbs, feminine features. Some say alien, others say genetic disorder. But here's what matters. Akhenaten tried to erase all other gods and worship only one deity, the sun disk, Aten. This was the first monotheistic religion in recorded history. He moved the capital, banned other religions, and changed Egyptian culture overnight. Why? Some say he received divine visions, others think he was a rebel. But what's strange is this: he disappears from history. His son was Tutankhamun, the boy king whose tomb was famously found untouched. After Akhenaten's death, Egypt erased his legacy, like he never existed. What did he see? Why did Egypt hate him so much after, and why did he change everything? You might think ancient Egyptians were all curses and superstition, but nope. They had doctors, specialists, dentists, surgeons. They even wrote medical textbooks, like the Ebers Papyrus, which explains treatments for everything from asthma to tumors. They performed brain surgery, reset bones, and even knew how to treat infections using honey and mold, centuries before penicillin was discovered. They understood the heart-pumped blood before European doctors did. So how did they figure this out? Trial and error? Or was this knowledge passed down from an even older culture? In 2017, scientists using cosmic ray scans discovered something insane. A hidden void inside the Great Pyramid, at least 100 feet long, completely inaccessible. No entrance, no passage, nothing. It's still sealed, untouched, and no one knows what's inside. Treasure, scrolls, a machine, or just more empty space. And here's the weirdest part: Egypt's government won't let anyone explore it. They've shut down investigations, blocked researchers, and even arrested people for trying to scan it. What are they hiding, or what are they afraid of? You ever hear of the lost labyrinth of Egypt? Ancient writers like Herodotus and Strabo said there was a massive underground city near the Pyramid of Hawara, full of chambers, temples, and records of Egypt's lost knowledge. In the 2000s, researchers scanned the area, and guess what? They found underground structures just where the ancients described, but access was denied, again. Locals say there are sealed tunnels, strange vibrations, and even old stories of explorers disappearing after going in. Is there a vault of hidden history buried there? Everyone knows Cleopatra, Queen of the Nile, seductress, lover of Julius Caesar and Mark Antony. But what most people don't realize, she wasn't Egyptian, she was Greek, a descendant of Alexander the Great's general Ptolemy. And despite the Hollywood glamour, Cleopatra was a linguist, mathematician, and astronomer. She spoke 9 languages and ruled in a world where Rome was devouring everything. After her death, Egypt fell to Rome, and with that the last true chapter of ancient Egypt ended. But where's her tomb still missing? Archaeologists are still searching, and some believe it holds the final secrets of the pharaohs. Here's the deal. Egypt is massive, and only about 30% of it has been properly excavated, the rest still under the sand, or underwater. And every year, new discoveries flip what we thought we knew. Hidden tombs in the Valley of the Kings, scrolls in the desert, boats buried beside pyramids, even entire cities buried by sandstorms. The more we dig, the more the story changes. So let's zoom out. What if ancient Egypt isn't just a chapter in history, but a missing piece of something bigger? What if its monuments are time capsules, messages in stone left for us to decode? What if the stories of gods, sky beings, floods, and secret chambers aren't just myths, but memories? Memories of a world that existed before ours, of knowledge that was lost, and is now just starting to be remembered. Egypt isn't just about mummies and gold, it's about mystery. It's about clues. It's about asking the questions that make people uncomfortable. Because behind the pyramids, the temples, and the statues is a story no one fully understands. And maybe, just maybe, that's the whole point. If you enjoy our journey, please like and subscribe to our channel, and if you like our content and want to support me, you are welcome to buy me a coffee. The link is in the description box below.